when Alvah and I were in Utah at Brigham Young University, and he was making a speech to a large auditorium filled with students. And he made his speech, and then there was the question and answer period. And this young man got up in the back of the room, held up his hand. He said, "Mr. Chapman, I want to know what are the 3 or 4 things you would contribute your success to." And I think Alvah was a little taken back, but he thought, and he said, first, he said, "Number 1, it's my faith. Number 2, it's my happy marriage. Number 3, my family. And number 4, my training at the Citadel."
When Alvah finished his tour of duty as a bomber pilot and squadron commander in World War II, he signed up. He didn't have to. He signed up for another 25 missions. Before those 25 were completed, the war was won. But he wasn't one to say, "Okay, I've done my duty, it's all over, thank you very much." He signed up again. Alvah had a very strong sense of honor and duty from his experience at the Citadel.
Well, I suppose the 2 words "greatest generation" have become so overused that we shouldn't use them anymore, but I'm going to use it one more time. This is a man flying bomber missions over Europe with a huge mortality rate, surviving, coming back home, and then expressing that kind of leadership that he did in his early 20s for the next 60 years.
As he got older and was more and more and more successful, he'd built a great company, Knight Ridder, which he brought together, Knight and Ridder, and then for, I think it was 17 years, he had 13% compounded earnings, an extraordinary record.
When we moved here, and he was going up on the expressway, and he saw people living in cardboard boxes, he said, "Betty, we've got to do something about this." He wanted to do more than feed and clothe them. He wanted to see that they could move on to a better life.
Alvah lived his Christian faith. He felt from his core that he was his brother's keeper.
You know, something else that defined Alvah was his sense of family, and certainly his own personal family. I mean, Betty was his partner in everything, as he used to say, and his angel. He always liked to use the analogy of angels, and there was no greater angel for Alvah than Betty, and they were wonderful partners. But his family was always very important to him, but that concept of family that he personally had also demonstrated itself or illustrated itself in the broader community.
After Hurricane Andrew, that President Bush, the elder President Bush, announced on national TV that they were appointing Alvah to be the head of the organization that was going to work to rebuild Miami-Dade County. And Mr. Chapman was not expecting that to be announced right at that time. They had to just put in a whole bank of telephones and just grab people from everywhere to start answering them. And in the middle of all this craziness, Mr. Chapman was as calm as could be. He walked into this new office where he was going to be sitting, and he sat down and he started making those telephone calls. He started figuring out his plan. How are we going to make this happen?
You know, I think Alvah is without a doubt the number 1 citizen of Miami in modern times. So after Henry Flagler and Julia Tuttle and the wave of people that first came, Alvah, without a doubt, it's no one has contributed like Alvah has.
Alvah, in this community, put FIU on the map. Alvah joined our board, and he is the longest-serving chairman of the FIU Foundation Board of Trustees. During that time, he helped us to get fundraising going.
At one point, he called up and asked Armando and me to co-chair a project, a big project for the Community Partnership for the Homeless. And I said, well, Alvah, I said, isn't it typical of you that you get some of the busiest people in town and you make them come over and do what you want to do? And he said, oh, by now he had a very soft voice. And he said, oh, no. He said, I don't want you to do what I want to do. I want you to do what your own true interest is. And I've got to tell you, if you didn't know him, you have to understand, he absolutely meant it. He wanted you to pray. He had prayed on this, and he had realized this was in your own true interest. It's absolutely fantastic. The sincerity of it, the steel-willed nature of it, it really accounts for so much of that amazing man's success.
If there's someone in our community, present or past, the last 50 years, which is what I am used to, that deserves the title or deserves the moniker of great man, great leader, it is Alvah Chapman.
He was one of a kind.
So my answer is God and Betty. Without the two, we'd have no Alvah Chapman.
Alvah was a man of faith. He was active in our church. He was, through the years, he was a Sunday school teacher. He served on boards, committees, and he was a firm believer. And we were blessed to have 65 years of happiness together. As busy as he was, he always had time to share time with his family.